Much for joining our live newsletter where we interview some colleagues within the data industry. I have my associate Joel, who I'm going to be interviewing, that will talk about his business model and tell us a couple of anecdotes about his go-to-market over the last numerous years he's been to market. Go ahead, Joel.
Hey, I'm Joel Garcia. I'm the CEO of AllCode. We also have a different SaaS company called Cloud Contact AI, which I'm the CEO of. AllCode's business model is effectively professional services. So we'll either work on a time and material basis or we'll work on a retainer. And then the Cloud Contact AI, that's a SaaS model. So that's based upon a monthly subscription where there's a utilization component built into it.
Great. I understand you work on hyperscalers such as AWS. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so AllCode, we initially started doing custom software development. We pivoted to mobile apps, then we pivoted to crypto, and then after doing some crazy crypto stuff, we then pivoted towards more of the enterprise cloud. So we're an advanced AWS consulting partner, and so we primarily modernize and migrate workload on AWS, as well as doing some custom software development. We've also worked on GCP and Azure, but we can get you more funding and have more relationships with AWS.
Oh, the fundings are quite generous to get going on AWS. If one of our Storage Guardian users that's listening to this call interview, what do they typically look like?
So it really depends upon how your company is funded. So if your company is funded through traditional VC, then you can get what's called Activate credits. If it's not funded through traditional VC, then there are different initiatives that we can work through. We can do either a proof of concept, and so you'll get a little bit of funding there. If you're migrating from an existing on-prem GCP or Azure, then we can get migration credits. So those would be a couple of the ways in which we can get you funding if you're either moving to AWS or you're looking to kind of modernize your infrastructure.
Okay, great. And what's a good tidbit before you put your toe in the water into the hyperscaler, as you'd say, is really important to know about using a consultation professional services such as yourself, like I know before you engage. What would you say would be a good tidbit?
Sure, sure. So prior to putting workload on AWS, if you don't have workload on AWS, you should work through someone like AllCode, simply because once the workload is on AWS, they won't give you any credits or give you any benefits. They just want you to pay. It's a revenue generator. So what we can do is we can help get you those credits, get you some funding, and then what's most important is building out the solution correctly the first time. What will happen is a lot of people when they first go into AWS or any of these cloud providers is they'll go in, they'll kind of pick hardware through the management console and go from there. The issue with that is it's difficult to reproduce, right? So it's always best to think out what you want to deploy into the cloud ahead of time so that you can build it in a way so that it's reproducible, right? So here's my VPC, here's my subnet, here are the containers that I want to use, here's the database that I want to use. You can plan it out, and then we can do kind of a total cost assessment of it for 3 years, and then we can go and get some funding or communicate with Amazon to help you out. So not only does doing the planning help you as a business, it helps your relationship with Amazon. And then subsequently, if there are any compliance things that you need to adhere to, let's say you need to be HIPAA compliant or SOC 2 compliant or any of those compliance things, then you're building the solution correctly from the beginning. So then you don't have to hire someone to come in and refactor it when you've already got workload on it.
Yeah, fair enough. And are there any specific industries you would say work well on an AWS cloud versus not so well? Like I know with our BDR business, not a good idea to run on AWS cloud because it's just the IOPS and the amount of SSDs we would need wouldn't make a good cost per terabyte. But what
Oh yeah.
industries? Yeah, what
Yeah. So
industries would you say? Mhm.
anything that needs to be compliant, right? So, if I go to DO or if I go to another provider that's significantly cheaper and I need to be compliant, I'm going to have to do all the compliance workload myself. Whereas with AWS, you get some of that out of the box. Anything that needs to have a nice REST API, so you're not using a GUI, but you want to do things from the command line. So those sorts of businesses we would definitely recommend for AWS. We've seen a lot of fintech and healthcare. So, you've got compliance issues there. But obviously, if you know what you're doing, right, and you know how to provision IOPS and you can do it through a different third party where you're able to have the technical communication, then AWS may not be the best fit for you.
Fair enough. And any unexpected anecdotes you can share with us where somebody said, I wasn't expecting this, and we went to Amazon Web Services or vice versa that you can share with our audience?
Oh, they're always gotchas. Right. So sometimes we get people asking us to put them on EKS, but they don't know what EKS is. So basically, so what we get is we get a lot of people who have read blogs or listened to podcasts, and been recommended to do this because if you put them on Kubernetes on AWS, then you can migrate the solution easily to GCP, right? So we get those, and then they find out that there's this Kubernetes thing where they've basically provisioned a bunch of EC2 instances, and now they have these logical units running on these EC2 instances, and you need to control them with kubectl, and they don't know what the hell you're talking about, right? So we get those. We get, I think, you could probably, each customer has humorous stories where, some incur huge spend because they don't understand that things like S3 have a data lifecycle, so you can move storage off to Glacier, right? Um, so I think cost is always tricky and amusing. There are shortcuts. Many people don't take the time to learn kind of those cost-cutting shortcuts where, I got a CloudFront distribution which is serving up tons of data, but it's not compressed. So then I'm getting charged these astronomical network fees that would go down substantially if you turned on compression. So yeah, I could just, it seems like every customer eventually runs into some gotcha, and then hopefully we're there to help advise them. So, we had one client that was trying to get SOC 2 compliant, and they had provisioned everything in the master payer account. And so, SOC 2 compliance basically kind of wants you to be on this product called Control Tower, which has multiple accounts. And so migrating from that one master payer account to basically four different accounts, there was, a lot of things that needed to be done. We have clients that are running on legacy platforms like Elastic Beanstalk. So the number of people that we encounter who are running on Elastic Beanstalk is pretty large. So Elastic Beanstalk it was AWS's first PaaS solution back in 2015, but it hasn't really been updated in 10 years, and it's being kind of downgraded. They won't, publicly attest to it, but if you're trying to build a .NET product on Elastic Beanstalk now and you want to go to .NET 8 or .NET 9, those images aren't supported. And so it's one way that they kind of sunset those products. So you have to you have to move to something like an Elastic Container Service, which basically makes use of Docker. So, there's stories for each and every client. You try not to chuckle too much, but yeah, eventually, it's these cloud-based solutions, they get complicated, whether you're running on AWS or whether you're running on GCP or even DO. Um, One of the reasons we don't typically recommend that people run on Azure is because then you have to basically hire a full-time guy to understand the Microsoft subscription licensing model. And that's just for like understanding how you provision assets and how you get billed. Most people don't want to do that. So AWS is relatively simple in that respect.
Great. And what do I usually say is the number one thing you need to learn is the daily budget and
Yep.
how to manage your daily budgets because if you don't want to spend more than $50 a day, then then it will let you know if you want to, if that's what your spend is, and what that will do is it will curb a lot of fraud. That people run GPUs or crypto, inadvertently on your network, and the hyperscalers will not credit that because they say we don't, we just are charge for the utilization and haven't met too many people, that have not been succumbed to that type of misuse of hyperscalers where somebody else has run GPUs in their environment. And so that's my number one advice to my users is make sure you learn how to schedule and set up the daily budget. That way, that protects your credit card bills, and then build on from there your stack because they'll just bill you, and I've seen bills 20, 30, 50, $80,000 from somebody running GPUs for crypto, and they had no idea. And and they'll give you a 5% discount, and they say, well, we don't care. We're AWS, we're Azure, we're big and you're small. And you go figure that out. Which
Yeah, yeah. And so that in and of itself is a reason to work with a partner because basically we know how to set it up so that your CloudWatch budget alarms will trigger if something spikes.
yeah.
And obviously, you never want someone to get access to your keys, or if someone gets access to your GitHub keys, if someone gets access to your AWS or GCP Azure keys, then bad things will happen, right?
Well, you want to control those, day one. And
Yep.
so, like, I really appreciate the tidbits. If a user group from Storage Guardian wants to get a hold of you, can you let us know how we can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm just at allcode.com, ALLCODE.com, kind of like Allstate with the state replaced with code. And you can hit me up at Joel at allcode.com.
Well, that really concludes our interview today. Thank you so much for the opportunity for sharing some of your insights, and we look forward to seeing Storage Guardian users on the next newsletter. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Take care, guys.